So in real estate, we're about 24%, equities 36%, which seems low to some people, fixed income 35%, and alternative assets about 5%. So what do people do globally around the world? This is the 2018 World Wealth Report. The two things that are interesting here, the real estate allocation is currently around 17%, but the equity allocation is 30%. In fact, if you went back on this report, the dozen years that it's been coming out, it's never been over 31 or 32% in equities. So far less than a lot of people have in typical balanced portfolios. And when we look at global investable assets between real estate categories, public equities, securitized debts, and gold, 42% of the world's wealth is tied up in income-producing commercial real estate assets, either multifamily residential. So this does not include housing, that personal use housing. It's basically all investment-grade real estate. So if public equities are only 23% of global wealth, why would a portfolio have 60 to 75% of it in that category? So the issues. Private equity is one thing that we feel quite strongly about, and we think that while it has some limitations, including the fact that it's illiquid, it's hard to diversify, it normally requires a significant minimum investment, it has higher fees on capital, it takes a lot of due diligence, a lot of homework to find good managers and good assets. And from our perspective, we take a fund-of-funds approach. But is it worth getting over all of these hurdles? So one of our funds that we invest with, Northleaf, which used to be TD Private Equity, has been doing this for about 50 years. And when they do their analysis, going back, in this case, over 15 years, they compare their returns to the Morgan Stanley Capital Index for the world. And essentially, you can see there's a fairly significant gap for each period of time. In fact, our own private equity pool, since the beginning of 2018, I should say, is up 17% as of the end of March compared to, let's say, the Canadian equity market, which would be maybe minus 2 or 3% in that same period of time. So private equity is certainly an option as opposed to just public equities.